how would you go about defending that?
Because I think that the problem here isn't my problem on abortion or not. The problem is you desperately trying to tie it back to vegan rights. Most people aren't going to have this type of conversation trying so hardcore to differentiate a 20-week fetus between a 2-year-old dog. If you show a person one red ball, and then you show a person like the color blue, and then you say, can you imagine or conceptualize or generalize that to 10 blue balls? Human beings can do that without ever seeing a single blue ball or without ever seeing 10 of any object. I don't think an animal has that level of conceptual sophistication.
I don't know how to eat food! Someone please teach me how to eat! Truly sorry for having so rigorously and at times perhaps anonymity.
Let us begin with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how. Cow doesn't grow fast enough for man, so through his greed, he makes a faster plan. He has drugs to make the cow grow quicker.
That's because Jesus Christ is...
Whoa!
Did you want to talk about chimpanzees?
Oh yeah, what about them?
Yeah, so I was reading more about language parts of the brain, because that related to our debate.
Uh-huh.
So there are some animals that have that, I think it's called the Broca area. I think there's also another part, but there are animals that have that. The animals that most closely resemble that area of our brain that is used for language would be chimpanzees because of our very close evolutionary history. Despite having those structures, which are very similar, chimpanzees do not have the ability to learn language.
Yeah?
So, like, again, I was just wondering, do you think it's still reasonable to assume that, I believe you were, like, in the debate, you kind of let it slip, a 100-day-old fetus would have the ability to understand language? Like,
I don't know, is that 20 weeks? What is 20 weeks? 20 times 7 is 140,
no,
so...
100 days would be 14 weeks.
Oh, so probably not at 100 days.
Well, in our debate, you literally, you pulled up the set of photos, well, in that case, pictures, of fetal brain development, and you said at 100 days, all the brain regions are there, they've differentiated. And then you said from that, we can reason that a 100-day-old fetus, because they have those brain regions differentiated, they would have the ability to understand language. So clearly there are
you trying to get me on the fact that I didn't calculate in my head that 100 days isn't quite 20 weeks? Is that the big own we're going for?
There's no way you could have made that error because on the
Do you
photo
know why I
or
made
the
that error?
set of
It's
pictures,
because you wanted me to look at a picture. This is why I don't determine like my factual foundation of understanding the world by pictures.
There's no way you could have made that error because on the set of pictures it said 20 weeks and then it went backwards, and I think it said like 16 weeks then 100 days. So you saw the picture that said 20 weeks, and you also saw the picture that said 100 days, and on the picture it clearly showed the brain regions had differentiated. So clear, like, it seems like you agree that...
I don't think I would ever go by pictures to determine if something is, like, differentiated or not.
Okay, well, at 100 days, the brain regions have differentiated.
Apparently they haven't developed enough for scientists to feel like a conscious experience is happening, so... Why would I care?
That's not true. So
yeah?
there's it's hard to establish like sentience in a creature, especially when they're not able to say that, hey, I'm sentient or conscious.
Okay.
So when you're talking about fetal consciousness, it's based on the strength of the evidence. The lowest evidence available suggests that consciousness could arise as early as 8 weeks.
Okay.
That's because non-reflex neural activity can be detected. But again, that's really low level of evidence. At 20 weeks, however, like again, you have much more, like you have all the brain regions differentiated. Neural activity is at a point where, with a fairly high degree of certainty, you can say sentience is there. But again, you don't seem to care about sentience, you seem to care about semantic understanding, which would supposedly require those brain regions responsible for language to be present. Supposedly. But it sounds like you're agreeing that just because those regions are there, it doesn't mean that they're at a stage of development where they're functionally able to do so.
I mean, my understanding is what scientists believe is that the parts of the brain necessary for you to have a conscious experience are developed and communicating anywhere from 20 to 28 weeks. That's what I've read. I don't know if you can analyze the brain for semantic understanding. Yeah.
Well, right. I don't think there really is a way to do that, but it's based on strength of evidence, right? So if you care about something like semantic understanding and not consciousness, then consciousness alone wouldn't really be enough to, according to your worldview, give a fetus life value or right to, not be murdered.
Why do I need consciousness and semantic understanding?
Sorry?
Why do I need consciousness and semantic understanding?
So if you were to create if ChatGPT were to be programmed to be able to understand semantic understanding, you'd have the moral opinion that ChatGPT should have human rights?
I don't know if I would or not. I don't know if just semantic understanding. That's a big difference between humans and machines, but I don't know if that's all you need.
You're saying, why would you care about consciousness? I mean, if something can't really feel anything or experience anything, but they're able to have intelligence, so like an AI, you'd be in favor of giving an AI human rights, even though they're not conscious?
I don't know I'm not sure how they would qualify the conscious thing. I need to go over Searle's Chinese room. There's a reason why he said he theorized that AIs could never have semantic understanding, but I'd have to go back and figure it out. I'm not sure.
I'm supposing that when you're meaning semantic understanding, it's like at a conscious level, right?
Yep.
Not just like an intellectual or intelligence level.
Hold on, what are we talking about right now?
Well, we're talking about your belief that if a creature has the ability to have semantic understanding, then they should have human rights. So, you're just confusing me with your standard because, I mentioned that there's not really any evidence that, a fetus would have semantic understanding, and then you mentioned consciousness at some point, and then I might have misunderstood.
Okay, wait, and how and what we're talking about, you're saying babies don't have, an experience of what it's like to be?
That's not what I said.
Okay, do you think that babies don't have a type of semantic understanding, or?
No. And by the way, by semantic understanding, you take it to mean being able to understand the difference between a last stop and a destination.
I don't know what that means. That's a phrase that you keep using, but I'm not sure what that means.
Being able to understand semantics would basically the ability to understand how different words can mean the same things individually, but in a certain context can mean either very different things or have a very subtle different meaning. So again, last stop, destination. Because
my
you didn't give
understanding
me...
is that like the difference between syntax and semantics, I think it's called semiotics. I don't remember. It's fuck the shit. But the it's not about like understanding just meaning. Hold on, wait. Give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. Let's rewind for a sec. Are you trying to tell me to reconcile like semantics with like fetuses and dogs, or what is the
Well, the point I just want to make is you're not just valuing a conscious experience. So like a creature achieving sentience where they can just have a subjective experience, you're only valuing a particular type of experience, one that allows a creature to have semantic understanding. So if that's the case, I think it's pretty clear that a 20-week-old fetus, and even up till what appears to be like several years of age, like 2-3 years of age, at least, would not have that capability.
what and how are we determining this?
Well, again, do you have, like, you're the one making the claim. I would like to see evidence. Well, first of all, I'd actually maybe prefer you to give a better definition or a more solid definition of what you mean by semantic understanding. And after you give that definition, I'd like to see evidence that a 20-week-old fetus, or even like a 1 or 2-year-old child, has that ability to have semantic understanding. Because like at that age, you're still talking about children not being able to have the ability to understand that they're their own individual, unique person until the first few months of age. Then they can't even recognize themselves in the mirror until well after a year old. And like even, and then again, like it's not until they're around like 3 years of age that they even have the ability to do things like be manipulative. So I'd like to see evidence from you that, around that age group, humans have the ability to have semantic understanding.
Okay. Fuck me. Hold up. Okay, let's just read for a second, I guess. Okay, why not?
You there?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm just gonna read this, and then we can explore together. Okay. Since apparently you just read one sentence of something, and then come to argue with me. Okay. All right. The Chinese room argument. In 1980, John Searle published Minds, Brains, and Programs in the journal The Behavioral of Brain Sciences. In this article, Searle sets out the argument and then replies to the half-dozen main objections that had been raised during his earlier presentations at various university campuses. See next section. In addition, Searle's article in BBS was published along with comments and criticism by 27 cognitive science researchers. These 27 comments were followed by Searle's replies to his critics. In the decades following its publication, the Chinese room argument was the subject of very many discussions. By 1984, Searle presented the Chinese room argument in a book, Minds, Brains, and Science. In January 1990, the popular periodical Scientific American took the debate to a general scientific audience. Searle included the Chinese room argument in its contribution, Is the Brain's Mind a Computer Program? And Searle's piece was followed by a responding article, Could a Machine Think? Written by philosophers Paul and Patricia Churchland. Soon thereafter, Searle had a published exchange about the Chinese room with another leading philosopher, Jerry Fodor. in Rosenthal, 1991. The heart of the argument is Searle imagining himself following a machine processing program written in English, which is what Turing called a paper machine. The English speaker, Searle, sitting in the room, follows English instructions for manipulating Chinese symbols, whereas a computer follows, in some sense, a program written in a computing language. The human produces the appearance of understanding Chinese by following the symbol manipulating instructions, but does not thereby come to understand Chinese, since the computer just does what the human does, manipulate symbols on the basis of their syntax alone. No computer, merely by following a program, comes to genuinely understanding Chinese. This narrow argument, based closely on the Chinese room scenario, is specifically directed at a position Searle calls strong AI. Strong AI is the view that suitably programmed computers, or the programs themselves, can understand natural language and actually have other mental capabilities similar to the humans whose behavior they mimic. According to strong AI, these computers really play chess intelligently, make clever moves, or understand language. By contrast, weak AI is the much more modest claim. The computers are merely useful in psychology, linguistics, and other areas, in part because they can simulate mental abilities. But weak AI makes no claim that computers actually understand or are intelligent. The Chinese room argument is not directed at weak AI, nor does it purport to show that no machine can think. Searle says that brains are machines and brains think. The argument is directed at the view that formal computations on symbols can produce thought. We might summarize the narrow argument as a reductio ad absurdum against strong AI as follows. Let L be natural language, and let us say that a program for L is a program for conversing fluently in L. A computer system is any system, human or otherwise, that can run a program. If strong AI is true, then there is a program for Chinese such that if any computing system runs that program, that system thereby comes to understand Chinese. I could run a program for Chinese without thereby coming to understand Chinese. Therefore, strong AI is false. The first premise elucidates the claim of strong AI. The second premise is supported by the Chinese room thought experiment. The conclusion of this narrow argument is that running a program cannot endow the system with language understanding. There are other ways of understanding the structure of the argument. It may be relevant to understand some of the claims as counterfactual, e.g.
Okay. Can I just stop you there? I don't see how any of this relates to what I just asked you. What I asked you was, You made a standard for what should give a creature human rights. That standard was semantic understanding.
I don't even know if I said semantic understanding. You keep trying to like nail
did.
it. That's like one part of having a conscious experience, but I don't know if like only having like semantic understanding things is like that's the only part necessary.
So would you value a creature's existence if it did not have semantic understanding, assuming it was also conscious?
Probably not.
Okay, so...
But that makes it necessary, not sufficient.
Right, so
there's probably other parts. Yeah.
Right, there could be other things that make up for it, but that seems to be...
But I think one of the big setting aparts of human conscious experience versus like other experiences are that humans have like a very sophisticated understanding of the world, which seems to show in some part that we have a very...
Does a 20-week-old fetus have a sophisticated understanding of the world?
It probably has the ability to, yeah, more than any other animal, I think.
Okay, so if, let's say, a fetus was growing inside a woman... Mm-hmm. It was 20 weeks gestation, and then for whatever reason, it just stopped developing. It would survive, and it could say even survive outside the womb, but it just wouldn't develop beyond that point.
At like 19 weeks or something?
Well, no, at 20 weeks.
Okay.
So let's just say that was its like basically adult age. It wouldn't age past that point. Would it be able to have a more complex understanding of the world than practically any other animal?
I don't know. It's a hard one to imagine. I don't know what a brain at 20 weeks of development and then brought forth into the world looks like. I'm not sure. Like if you have like developmentally delayed people that are hardcore like Down syndrome and stuff, like at what level does their brain develop? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, it would certainly be past 20 weeks gestation.
Okay. I don't know that. I'm not sure. Maybe.
You're not sure if somebody with Down syndrome has a more developed brain than a fetus at 20 weeks gestation?
I don't know the sophistication levels of a fetus from 20 to 28 weeks. I'm not sure. But like 2 days ago, you told me that a 2-year-old couldn't differentiate between language and a cup smashing on a table. So I don't think you can act incredulous when it comes to me not knowing the limitations of a gestated fetus.
Look, I told you I might have got the timelines wrong, It may have been 6 months. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's not
but
6
that
months
wasn't
either.
Really the point.
I'm pretty sure at
That
birth,
wasn't-
at birth, fetuses can tell the difference between languages at birth, right? But
No, they can't.
they absolutely can. Yeah.
Give me the evidence. Where's the evidence? Show me. I'd love to see a peer-reviewed paper on that.
Okay, we can read this together if you want. It was linked in chat. Language in the newborn brain. Does prenatal language experience shape the neonate neural response to speech? Abstract. We'll just read the abstract. Previous research has shown that by the time of birth, the neonate brain responds specially to the native language when compared to acoustically similar non-language stimuli. In the current study, we use near-infrared spectroscopy, I don't know, to ask how prenatal language experience...
Wait. There's an issue with your argument here. There's a difference between understanding and just a brain reaction that you can see on some sort of imaging technique.
Okay. I don't know how... Well, I mean, you can't really talk to newborns, so I'm not sure how else we would establish a difference.
Well, there's a huge fucking difference between, like, seeing certain brain regions light up and then having an understanding. I mean, you could see different
I'm just saying
brain
it
regions
seems like the
light up.
brain regions are lighting up differently for a language that's the native language of the mother versus a different language that the child doesn't understand. So that they can recognize...
Okay, wait. You're using that word understanding again. So I want to see evidence that a newborn can understand, not evidence that their brain reacts differently. Like again, I'm sure their brain will react differently based on, like, a sound they've never heard. Like, if they hear a parrot rather than a cat meowing, I'm sure you could maybe get a different response if they're used to the cat meowing. Does that mean they can understand that, oh, that's a parrot, that's a cat?
Well, it seems like they can understand a language they're familiar with versus one they're not.
You're using that word understanding again. Where's the evidence they can understand?
I don't know. I'll try to ask a really intelligent 0-month-old baby if they can speak. Okay, how about instead of understand, can we say differentiate? It seems like they can differentiate it.
Okay, they can differentiate? That's good evidence in support of that, but you don't care about that necessarily.
Okay, I don't think I care about any of this. That's true, yeah.
Then why would you bring up this paper when the only thing it suggests is that they can maybe differentiate
you asked
those
me,
sounds?
Yeah, because earlier you'd made the claim that a 2-year-old and then you backed it up to 6-month-old can't differentiate between the sound of a cup smashing on a table versus language. And then I made a much stronger claim that actually at birth they can differentiate between languages, which is even more precise than a cup smashing on a table or somebody speaking.
No, the claim you made was that they can understand. That's different.
Okay, I shouldn't have used the word understand. I should have stayed with differentiate because that was the argument I was counting from you, but yeah.
And again, this is, like, you're talking about imaging. So they may not necessarily be able to differentiate cognitively, but their brain is just reacting to different stimuli in a different way.
Okay, what is the difference between that and reacting?
So, I don't understand how that's related to anything I just said. What do you mean difference between what and reacting?
Isn't reacting a different way literally defined by your brain, like having different process? Like, isn't that what you are when you're reacting? Your brain is doing different things?
Your brain can do different things. It doesn't mean you have an understanding. And it doesn't mean you cognitively recognize differences.
Okay. What's happening then? Explain that to me.
Okay, there's a difference between you consciously recognizing the difference between a sound and another.
Okay,
your brain regions lighting up in a specific way.
Okay, let me just read this and then you can tell me what the babies are doing, okay? To do so, we examine the neural response of neonates when listening to familiar versus unfamiliar language, as well as to non-language stimuli. 20 monolingual English-exposed neonates aged 0 to 3 days were tested. Each infant heard low-pass filtered sentences of forward English, the familiar language, forward Tagalog, an unfamiliar language, and backwards English and Tagalog, non-language. During exposure, neural activation was measured across 12 channels on each hemisphere. Our results indicate a bilateral effect of language familiarity on neonates' brain response on language. Differential brain activation was seen when neonates listened to forward Tagalog, an unfamiliar language, as compared to other types of language stimuli. We interpret these results as evidence that the prenatal experience with the native language gained in utero influences how the newborn brain responds to language across brain regions sensitive to speech processing. Okay, so can you explain what this means to me? Or explain to me what this means?
Yeah, it sounds like the brain is being primed to learn certain languages as opposed to others, but that, again, your claim was that an infant can understand language.
Sure, I know you're really hung up on that word understand. What I said,
language.
yeah, I said they can differentiate. I'm sorry. I was running your claim that
Okay,
they can't
so
differentiate.
now
Maybe they
you're
can't
saying
understand.
differentiate. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's not an ability you care about. Like, again, the debate
I don't
we
know
had
if I
yesterday
necessarily
was
care about this. I was just responding to your claim that they can't differentiate until 2 years or 6 months. That's what I'm responding
Okay, great.
to.
Okay, I'll, like, for the sake of argument, I'll concede. They can differentiate between different sounds.
Okay.
That is not language. That's not the ability to understand language, and that was the trait that you named.
Wait, how is
would
that
give
not the ability
being-
to understand language? I mean, if they can start differentiating between the sounds, isn't differentiating between the sounds and then associating said sounds with different quality and experiences like the road to understanding language?
That's a road towards, but again, chimpanzees can do the same thing.
Yeah, but they
dogs
never
can do the
grow
same
to
thing.
understand language, right?
Well, that's right. And if you were to kill a 1-year-old before they learn to use language, you can control the outcome. So now you have to rely on this. Well, they will be able to in the future once their brain develops enough. So now, like, do you value
I don't know if
this
that's
sort of
true. I don't know if
future
I don't know if a baby left to their own devices without further brain development, but just given time in the world, would develop an understanding of language. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, you're gonna have a much more difficult time making an argument like that when you're talking about, like, a 20-week-old fetus.
Yeah, I don't talk about 20-week-old fetuses much.
Well, you claim that it's wrong to abort a fetus after 20 weeks gestation. So, how would you go about defending that?
Because I think that the problem here isn't my problem on abortion or not. The problem is you desperately trying to tie it back to vegan rights. Most people aren't going to have this type of conversation trying so hardcore to differentiate a 20-week fetus between a 2-year-old dog.
Okay, well, just because it's very difficult for you to justify these two different beliefs, it doesn't mean what I'm challenging you on is, like, illegitimate in some way.
Okay, I didn't, but you're making it sound like it's like a huge like ramp that I have to get over. So most people won't care. I already said I value the humans deploying a conscious experience is the thing that I value because I think that's the thing that we're most concerned about when it comes to humans, and that seems to begin at around 20 to 28 weeks.
Okay, well, that isn't what you seem to be most concerned with because, again, you're fine with holocausting even human beings, even supposing they can't learn a language.
Okay, true. What do you want, Weasel Supreme?
I'm just hearing a lot of questions about things that I have some answers for, and I'm doing my best to not say anything or interject until I think it's like really necessary. If somebody says something like drastically terribly wrong.
Well, give us some answers, buddy.
Okay, the two regions of the brain that you... Well, first off, can we characterize the arguments? Here's how I understand Vegan Gains. I wish you would do this, but here's how I understand your argument, Destiny. That you care about the level of conscious... You care about conscious experiences that elevate to a certain sophistication that humans have, and one milestone of this is our capability for syntactic, semantic language, human language as we know it. Is that your argument? This is one milestone.
Yeah, one milestone, one really big milestone that seems to demonstrate the sophistication of the human experience is all of the underlying structures that have to be in place and all the underlying concepts that have to be in place for us to utilize the language that we utilize. Language and the way that we communicate with each other seems to indicate a high level of sophistication of our understanding of the world that seems to be unmatched by animals. Even if we couldn't talk at all, that sophistication is still there. Just talking is like our evidence for it, basically.
So even if the capacity for language wasn't present in an individual, you would still argue that this person still has a level of consciousness that is sophisticated beyond any other animal.
Assuming that it had a human brain that was developing normally, that would be my assumption, yeah, even if they couldn't
But
speak.
language is just one emblem of this.
Kind of. Not really at all. Language is just like evidence that there's a thing there, right? It's just language is like an evidence that something underneath, like that's just the best proxy for it, right? Well, because truly it's not like we can ever see what's going on in another person's brain. We have to like get that information in other ways, and communicating language is one of the ways that we do it. But our ability to communicate that language, yeah, seems to show a sophisticated understanding of the world.
Okay, is any part of that, does any of that sound new to you, Vegan Gains, or do you have a better understanding of the argument now that you're up against?
Yeah, so he kind of tends to just keep moving the goalposts around. So, again, in the previous debates,
everything that he just said has been his argument from the first day. From my
on the
understanding.
very first day, I literally said language is a proxy for other things. You even repeated that argument back to me at one point. I can find the clip for if you really want.
No, you actually did do this.
I don't know why you have such a hard time understanding this. Hold on. When I say language, I feel like you're really hung up on like the speaking part. I'm using language as a proxy for an incredibly sophisticated level of human thought not shared by any other animal on the planet. Like, the fact that we can use language means that we can have an observation about ourselves in the universe. It means that we can talk about things in another time and place. It means that we can conceptualize things that don't exist. It means that I can communicate something that will happen at like a future time or day. Like, we can only use language in the sophisticated manner we do because we can conceptualize all this. The ability to utilize language, that's like a proxy for all of these other things.
Okay, so now it's not language necessarily, but you're just using that as a proxy for other cognitive capabilities.
So you literally just restated what I said 10 minutes ago, and you're acting like you're the first one who said. So to be clear, I literally said earlier, language is a proxy for the semantic understanding humans have. Yes.
Do you not remember that?
No, so he keeps adding these qualifiers that he's not really willing to explain. So I understand that he's using language as a proxy, he explained this before, but now he's saying complex understanding of the world. What the fuck does that mean?
So I literally gave examples 2 days ago, like the ability to know where something's not, like we can express a negative. The ability to keep...
so animals are able to do that.
I don't think that's true. I don't know if that's true, and you certainly have no evidence of it.
Fucking squirrels will put nuts in the ground and they know where they are and where they aren't. Yeah,
but I don't know if you can express to an animal the concept of a negative. Hey, there's not a thing over there. Or I don't even know if you can express hypothetical things. There's going to be two. Like if I show an animal one red ball and I show an animal the color blue, can they then conceptualize 5 blue balls? It seems basic and we take it for granted, but I don't think animals are capable of doing this. Humans are. I don't think an animal can.
Okay, and you think a 20-week-old fetus can?
I think they have the capacity to develop that understanding. I mean, they've never seen a ball or the color blue before. But keep in mind that 20 weeks is literally the very earliest point by which I said the spark of this conscious experience appears. It's like 20 to 28 weeks. That's like my safe cutoff for legal things, but sure.
Okay. Where's the evidence that a newborn baby can conceptualize 5 blue balls or know that something is and isn't there, even though they lack the ability to even know that they are their own individual person?
I don't know I think there probably is a little bit of training they need to understand that. So for instance, that's why peekaboo is really fun for infants, is because I don't think they've understood the object permanent stuff yet. But I don't think that's because a structure in the brain is missing. It's just like a thing that their brain learns as they get older. But animals can't learn that concept.
Okay, and being able to learn the concept in the future is what you care about, not necessarily having it.
Okay, yeah, future potential. All right, what other?
No, that's not your argument. Sorry.
I know it's not, but that's
important part of the argument.
He can't understand it. Yeah, he's just going to keep saying that, like, in the future?
No, it's not about the future. It's his argument from day one has been that all the structures are present in a form as complete as they need to be.
I understand that.
Whether they can demonstrate this capacity is irrelevant because they have the structure that they need to use later on to demonstrate it, whether it takes time to learn it or life experience or other senses or something.
Sure. Again, the examples you gave, like being able to conceptualize 5 blue balls, pretty goddamn sure a dog can do that. Like, again, if you ask a dog, even when it's in an unfamiliar place, to look for something that it's familiar with, it will try to look for it.
I don't. Okay.
Do you think that's where he's setting the goalpost? The ability.
I don't know
to...
if he. I actually don't know if he is capable of like
Use that
understanding
as an example.
I think that he's taking for granted the sophistication of a lot of human thought. I legitimately think he's having trouble conceptualizing what I'm talking about.
No,
that sounds really mean.
I'm
but
not. You use that specific example, and again, that specific example seems to, with it would be reasonable to assume a dog would have that ability. That specific example you use.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you show a person one red ball, and then you show a person like the color blue, and then you say, can you imagine or conceptualize or generalize that to 10 blue balls? Human beings can do that without ever seeing a single blue ball or without ever seeing 10 of any object. I don't think an animal has that level of conceptual sophistication. And I don't know why you would imagine they do.
To conceptualize something
that they haven't seen yet, that they haven't seen.
Seen?
Correct.
Okay, well, it has seen a blue ball.
It's easier to sorry. It's easier to explain this if you don't use like actual physical objects. If you're talking about conceptualization, it's better to use like something like the concept of not. Like every human in every language has the concept of not, but not doesn't mean anything to an animal in such a way that they can take the concept of not and apply it in new situations. If you teach a dog that a ball is not blue, you can't then say, and this ball is not red. It doesn't understand what not means. Or you can't say, this fruit is not a carrot, and the dog understands that, oh, then I have to find the thing that is the carrot, because things that aren't carrots are not carrots.
Again, I have a hard time believing that, because you can ask a dog to get things that aren't a certain thing.
Yes. Because dogs are too fucking stupid. They don't have this capability. Humans have this capability. That's why he's setting the bar.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. Let's say that you show a dog like a red thing, and then you show a dog like a blue ball. Could you then send a dog into a room with a ton of new objects to retrieve like a red ball?
So there's one dog. I think there are a couple dogs. There's one dog in particular. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a cool little like segment on this, where this dog can remember the names of like about 1,000 toys, which is genuinely, truly very impressive. And if there's like a new toy in the pile that was never there, he'll go and find, or rather, if you tell him to go get a toy that he hasn't learned the name of yet, if it's a new name that he's never heard before, he'll go and get a new toy that's like not one of the other named ones.
Okay.
Which is interesting, okay? And we can extrapolate and like anthropomorphize that information to draw conclusions that, wow, dogs must be as smart as humans. But obviously not. It's an impressive trick for a reason. Most dogs can't do this. We don't really know what this means other than the fact that this dog is making one connection between, oh, new audible stimuli equals new object that I may not be familiar with.
Okay. And if a dog isn't able to do those things, it's morally permissible to burn the dog alive.
Holocaust them, yes.
Even if a dog is able to do these things, under Destiny's moral framework, it's being able to remember 1,000 toy names still doesn't demonstrate that it's rising to the level of human intelligence and human consciousness.
I'll be right back 1 sec.
Ugh. 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 Shit. Okay, so if I'm getting this right now, being able to conceptualize is the trait that Destiny cares about.
I can't answer that, but it sounds like, again, maybe conceptualization is one other milestone that human consciousness rises to a level of sophistication that other animals don't seem to have. And that's what he's chiefly concerned with.
So we have semantic understanding, conceptualization.
It's the level of the level of sophistication in human consciousness. Destiny believes is worth preserving and is worth awarding a right to life to.
Okay,
that's how I understand
everybody else, right? And then everybody else, you can torture endlessly to your heart's desire.
I can't. That doesn't fit my moral framework. I don't know. So I think there are better arguments you can make.
Destiny's moral framework.
Well, you'd have to let him make that case. If
Yeah,
you
to
wanna
order
make this-
everything.
Oh,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes.
It's now semantic understanding and conceptualization.
Yeah, and being able to speak English.
Okay. All right. So wipe out the Chinese.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I think I'll be back, and I'll look up some research for some of this with regards to human or versus animal cognitive capability.
Okay.
But take care. Tell your wife that I won't be able to make it to dinner tonight. I'm just a little too busy, but maybe tomorrow night will be good.
That's good. Remember to use a lot of peanut
Take
butter
care.
so your dog has a really good meal, okay?
Yeah, sure. Take care, dude.
Okay, I just wanted to address a couple things that he said. The two regions of the brain he was talking about,
Yeah.
one is called Broca's area. That's in a lobe of the brain called the insula. Or maybe it's partly shared with the frontal lobe or whatever the fuck. It's near the front of your brain.
Okay.
That's like... the way that region associates with language is just like it's how we're able to articulate with our tongues, or it helps with our ability to actually like produce the language physically or whatever.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with human, whatever. Or maybe that's part of the reason that your cat can't fucking articulate better or something like that, is because its Broca's region isn't as developed. And the other area is called Wernicke's or Wernicke's, depending on who you're talking to. That's in the temporal lobe, maybe shared somewhat with the occipital lobe. And that one has more to do with like storage of vocabulary and memory and like being able to remember terms and stuff like that. And neither of those really give us any answers about why we're capable of semantic language the way that we are.
Yeah, I don't know how much we understand. I feel like there's a lot of limitations around our understanding of why humans like experience things the way we do. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool if there were better answers, but I don't even know if that's like, if we get into some weird territory, I don't know if that can be researched.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's very far off from the current capabilities of our ability to, like, so much of it is self-report. Like,
or not even like capabilities. Like, I don't actually know, like, I don't know if it's possible to investigate our own conscious experience. I don't know if we could, I don't know, that might be like outside the bounds of like what humans can investigate, you know?
We barely know where and why consciousness exists in the brain. And I would like go so far as to say, is based on my current understanding, which is, depending on who you ask, I have the most basic understanding of the human brain, or, maybe I know a lot. I really don't know. Mm-hmm. But I don't even think we're not able to understand the ones and zeros of how consciousness works. I don't even think we're like somewhat close. The most breakthrough information was like, oh yeah, we know that it's like communication between these two regions, like mostly the bottom of the occipital lobe to the top of one of the parietal lobes or something like that. Mm-hmm. But we're a long way away. And my understanding of how brain scan works is it's just literally this thing lights up. So we think something's happening there.
Yeah, it's fairly crude, but yeah.
Oh, the other thing was whether or not people can develop language on their own if just exposed to the world. So there are a lot of questions about whether or not socialization is required for language development. There are like two sort of milestone cases. One, his name is like Victor Viveiron. Another one is called Genie. You can look into those on your own or whatever. But there's a lot of questions about whether or not those people would have developed with like language problems on their own anyway. But we know for sure that like some deaf children in, I think it was a Latin American state or the South American or something like fucking Ecuador, whatever. It's not important. They were deaf. They had parents that weren't deaf. So these kids were like, mostly grouped together and spent all their time together. And they generated their own sign language. It's a very crude, rudimentary form of sign language. And this is like pretty replicable. And these are called home signs. And it rises to the level of, syntax and semantic understanding and things like that. So we will develop language on their own. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that we have a very strong compulsion to generate language on our own and even form our own like FLA, first language acquisition.
Interesting. Would we though? Would we need to? Without anyone to socialize with?
Apparently it's just inner DNA. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's a strong claim. But, apparently there's a lot of evidence to suggest that this is just something that
humans are like just born gifted
we've
with.
Evolved to do. Yeah.
Wait, did he just... Why would he just leave that suddenly? Okay.
You're not convinced you can get enough nutrients on a plant-based diet? Where am I getting my nutrition?
I don't know how to eat food. Someone please teach me how to eat. Truly sorry for having so rigorously and at times perhaps anonymity in
What is this?
Oh my god, Alex is vegan. Oh my god, he's eating broccoli.
Natural, this is quite embarrassing, blah blah blah, humbling. You're not convinced you can...
Psychology.
Destiny, he 100% juices, right? Vegan gains? I've never heard any evidence of that whatsoever. I feel like from all I've seen of him, I don't think I've even heard people make the accusation. No? Did I miss something? Like, he's been training for a long time. I think his lifts are, like, they're not... He doesn't have, like, any fucking insane, crazy lifts. I don't think there's ever been any evidence of... No, I've never heard that ever before. Do you remember his rap? Oh, wait. Link me the video. I'm sorry. I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. Please link me that. Please, 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 please link it. Okay, to Holocaust humans without semantic understanding, common non-vegan L. Imagine how bad Dr. Abby would eviscerate you. Thanks for donating me $5 for that one. I appreciate it. Destiny reacts to vegan music.
Milk, oat milk, rice milk, almond milk, don't steal milk from a cow.
Please, where's the original video? Oh, is that a real video that he watches?
Class.
Be as vegan as possible, start today. Be as vegan as possible, start today. Be as vegan as possible.
This is some cult. Shut up.
You can do it. Hip hip hooray. Veggies, fruits, nuts and seeds, put in your shopping cart.
Bro, how many of these? The animals out of
Coming up
hell.
on screen are going to be a bunch of other...
That was a pretty base take.
Steven, can you keep me up to date?
Loser. Again with the cow.
Oh.
Loser. Beef. What a relief. When will this poisonous product cease? This is another public service announcement. You can believe it, or you can doubt it. Let us begin with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how. Cow doesn't grow fast enough for man, so through his greed, he makes a faster plan. He has drugs to make the cow grow quicker.
That's because Jesus Christ is...
Whoa! Why did you add this? Who ruined this?
Through the stress, the cow gets sicker. 21 different drugs are pumped into the cow in one big lump. So just before it dies, it cries. In a slaughterhouse full of germs and flies, off with the hand they pack it, drain it, and can't...
Wait, there's an original version. Hold on.
Alright, KRS-One beef. Beef, what a relief. When will this poisonous product cease? This is another public service announcement. You can't believe it. You can believe it or you can doubt it. Let us begin with the cow, the way it gets to your plate and how. The cow doesn't grow fast enough for man, so through his greed, he makes a faster plan. He has drugs to make the cow grow quicker. Through the stress, the cow gets sicker. 21 different drugs are pumped into the cow in one big lump. So just before it dies, it cries. In the slaughterhouse full of germs and flies, off with the hand they pack it, drain it, and can't and cart it, and there it is in your local supermarket, red and bloody, a corpse neatly packed, and you wonder about heart attacks? Come on now, man, let's be real. You are what you eat is the way I feel, but the Food and Drug Administration will tell you meat is the perfect combination. See cows live under fear and stress, trying to think what's gonna happen next. Fear and stress can become part of you, in your cells and blood. This is true, so when the cow is killed, believe it. You preserve those cells, you freeze it, thaw it out in the blood and season it. Then you sit down and begin to eat it. In your body, its structure becomes your structure. All the fear and stress of another. Any drug is addictive by any name. Even drugs and meat, they are the same. The FDA has America strung out on drugs and beef, no doubt. So if you think that what I say is a bunch of crock, tell yourself you're gonna try and stop. eaten meat and you'll see you can't compete. It's the #1 drug on the street, not crack, because that was made just for black, but brown beef for all American teeth. Life brings life and death brings death. Keep on eating the dead. And what's left? Absolute disease and negative. Read the book How to Eat to Live by Elijah Muhammad. It's a brown paper.
Okay. Oh. What a wild ride. All right. I love you guys. I'll be here early tomorrow. I got a call I need to do. See you next time, bucko.